Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again today for another card making video, and this one is for our Stamp Around UK video hop. So this time around we're all making vintage or shabby chic style projects. So everyone who's taking part is going to have a link in the description, so you can just hop along to the other videos of all the other demonstrators that are taking part today. So everyone's Stampin' Up demo in the UK. So we're using Stampin' Up products to make our projects. Okay, so yes, vintage and shabby chic, not my style, generally speaking, but you know, we're going for it. I've done a couple of challenges now where I've had to really kind of think outside my normal crafting zone. So I'm hoping you're enjoying seeing something different. So yeah, here we go. Crumb cake cardstock. Yeah, apart from this bit and the sentiment, so a bit of early espresso and a bit of very vanilla. Okay, I had to just think for a minute about what I had done. And the only ink I've used is early espresso. Okay, so that's what we've done today. And if you're shy about doing stuff with your cardstock and distressing it and stuff, this might not be the video for you, because I am going to be distressing this quite a bit. And then we've got these lovely leaves which come from this stamp set called Season of Chic. We've got this lovely splatter as well, the two leaves, and there's a few other bits and pieces on here which sort of lend themselves to this sort of theme. It's a photopolymer set. It's got some great sentiments as well in various sizes, so it's really versatile. I've only just got it, and it is going to be on the retiring list, so you know, it is what it is, but it's a nice set. Quite big stamps in there as well. Okay, so that's what we're using. Okay, and we're going to spin it up a little bit to give you a different look. Okay, so I'm going to actually use early espresso as my card base this time. Okay, so we'll pop that to one side just for the moment. I've just got the one layer on this one. We're going to go with two. So these happen to be, and I don't suppose it really matters what you cut it to, but if you want to know, this is 3.5 by 5 1/4, and then I knocked this back 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, so it's 3 1/4 by 5. So they're the two pieces that I've cut for some layers, and then I've got some scraps here. I've got a circle cut from the crumb cake. That happens to have been with the 2 3/8 circle punch. That was on, is that an online exclusive? Don't know, can't remember. I don't think it is actually. I think it's the other ones that are. This is the one that goes with circle sayings, I think. Can't remember if that's retiring or not. So that's that. Bits and pieces to do some stamping on, and a little strip here, which is just over 1/2 inch, just to sort of make a little bit of an accent banner. It was just a scrap out of the scrap bin. So that's that. So first of all, then we need to do some inking around the edges of the cardstock. So that's how we've got this sort of stained look. It almost looks like a different colour cardstock altogether, but it's just because I've gone around the edge with some ink in the first instance. So we're going to quickly do that. Okay, got another piece of scrap here just to take off some of the ink as well. Okay, oh, I don't know where my silicone mat's gone. Put it to one side. So I'm just going to put some ink on the brush there. Right, so the larger layer of the two, we're going to put more ink on than the other one. Okay, so I want that sort of contrast. So we'll go over this a couple of times on each side. And it doesn't matter if it's not smooth, because the style of card we're making with this sort of vintage or shabby chic kind of style, so a little bit of splotchiness, unevenness isn't going to matter. So just go around that. I think I might make some of this a little darker. As I want a bit of contrast between the two layers that I'm going to put down, okay, so that's why I just want to put a little bit more on this one, so that you can definitely sort of define those lines between the two. Okay, so that'll probably do it. And then this one we're not going to go quite so hard on, so we'll just a little bit. Might not even do it on all along the edges, just leave some of it uninked. Really up to you. You can be really haphazard with this. I'm holding the brush at the end there, but just to sort of apply some extra pressure. But the espresso pad's one of the older ink pads that I have, so it's not picking up a lot of ink. Okay, so even though we've done the same thing, we've applied different amounts of ink, which means we still get a bit of contrast. Okay, all right. So while we've got the brush out, though, we're going to do the same on this circle around the edges of this, and again, don't worry about getting it too even. It's fine. Just go for it. Okay, I might just rub a little bit more on this one, on this side, just to give it a different sort of look. So sort of, I don't know, almost look like a moon. It's got a sort of dark side and light side sort of thing. So I've done that bit, and I think that might be it for the blending for now. Or at all, actually, to be honest with you. So now we need to do a bit of stamping. Okay, so we just want to do some of this stuff first before we get on to some of the other bits and pieces. Okay, so we're going to stamp our thanks, and instead of using the Very Vanilla, I'm going to just go onto the crumb cake cardstock. Just felt like, if I just bring back the other sample, felt like it was a bit bright and sort of stood out a little bit too much. So we're going to try using the crumb cake. So I've just held that on there just to make sure that ink transfers over. That was probably a lot longer than it needed to be, but that's fine. And we're going to be fussy cutting that out. And we're also going to need 3 of these leaves. And again, I used 2 of the sort of, I'm going to call them skeleton before. I was thinking about doing a different layout. So let's just stamp 5 of these. 3 of that one. And 2 of this one. I've got room on this bit to do the other one. Okay. And we need to fussy cut that stuff out. But we're going to do that in a minute, because we're going to do something drastic to these first. I've got bits of paper just to sort of protect my surface a little bit. Because we are going to, first of all, we're going to spritz these with some water. And I've got one of these lint-free cloth things. So really going to put quite a bit of water on that. And that's going to do 2 things. It's going to make the ink run and splotch out. And I'm just letting that sit in just for a minute before taking off any of that excess. But it's also going to soften the fibres of that cardstock as well. Might even put a bit more on around the edges there. Okay. So I'm just going to take off the excess on that, and we'll just pop that to one side for a second. The same with this one. Just try not to get too much on my desk. hence the paper underneath. There's like use a plant sprayer thing or something like that. Okay, so that's why we weren't fussed about how that ink was going to go on, because I knew we were going to just lift some of it and just give it this sort of splotchy look. So that's what you can see, how it kind of lifts it in some places and not in others, and you can see how wet it is still. Okay, all right, so we can just help it dry a little bit just with one of these cloths. As I say, we want it to be nice and soft so that we can do this and screw it up. Okay, so we could apply some ink again over the top, which means that it will catch on the creases. Okay, and you can put some more creases in places if you want, but I'm just going to go with how it turns out. Okay, so we end up with this. Let's just pop that to one side just for a sec. And if you manipulate this a little bit, you can use a bone folder or something like that, you can start to make the cardstock sort of peel away. It's kind of layered, kind of laminated, I guess. It's lots of layers put together. So you can start getting, roughing it up a little bit. Okay. You might even be able to get like a pokey tool in. There we go. Right, so just watch your fingers and you can start sort of tearing bits away. Okay, and it's going to look really dishevelled like that. And you can go over with some more ink, and we can do that a little bit more on some of the other sides. And it's going to be a little bit random because it will depend on how the fibres of try not to you can even just tear it, to be honest. Okay, so like I say, if you're shy about doing this kind of thing with cardstock, look away. Look away now. Okay, so there we go, there's another bit that's gonna just tear off. And by doing it like that, you've only got so much control over it, so you're automatically going to get some randomness from it, and it's going to look reasonably natural, if you know what I mean. I think sometimes when we try and do these things, they can look a little bit too symmetrical. Okay, crunch it up some more if you want, and then we can do the same with this one. See where we get some bits. A bit there. Oh, that's a big chunk. Okay, and again, just sort of, you know, using the ink just to take off some of that brightness, but it will still, you've still got that extra texture, if you know what I mean. I say, just using the poker tool or something just to get in between those layers is cool. Okay, as I just a few tears here and there as well, and we can just really grunge that up. You could go back over that with some ink if you wanted to emphasise any of those little bits and pieces, but I think we're just going to leave it as it is. Okay, but that's entirely up to you. You can do what you want with those. But what I want to do now is I want to get this sort of stuck and in place so that we can do our other little bits and pieces. So I'm going to use wet glue for this because it's so textured, but I'm only going to go down the middle so that we've got some movement around the edges here, and it's not going on straight. This really like bends my brain a little bit. This is not my style at all, to have things all over the place like this. but it wouldn't be a card making challenge if it wasn't a challenge, right? Okay, blimey. Okay, so which way up do I want this? Maybe that way. I don't suppose it matters too much. Okay. So like I say, you want, well, I'm aiming for having a bit of movement on this and making it look really quite roughed up kind of thing, okay? So that's what we've got right now. But just to help it along a bit, I'm just going to pop a couple of blocks on that and leave it to one side. I've got this thing ready. I'm not going to grunge this one up because it'll be a nice bit of contrast onto the background, I think, to have something that's not been all scuffed up. I'm going to cut that in a minute once we know exactly how big this needs to be. So we need to do some fussy cutting. Okay, so again, this isn't everyone's jam, doing this kind of thing. I've been doing a reasonable amount of it, to be fair, of late, just because of that's just happens to be what I've been using. That hasn't had any coordinating elements to it, and this stamp set is one of those. Doesn't have any coordinating bits and bobs. I find it helpful to use some scissors just to knock back. That's a nice little scrap to use though. Some of the excess cardstock and just sort of trim it down before I start. You're not wrestling with a whole heap of additional bits and pieces. Okay, but these shapes aren't too bad to cut out actually. So the stamping snips, paper snips I should say, are really sharp. So I only use these for fussy cutting and doing this kind of cutting paper, right? Those big scissors I use to sort of do big jobs and just roughly cutting kind of thing, because paper actually really blunts your scissors, okay? And then I've got another pair of those big scissors that are specifically for ribbon, so that they stay sharp. And then I've got a smaller pair of those other scissors that I use for cutting sticky stuff. So whether that's watch the edge of this, I've just poked myself with the edge of that, and it's sharp. The what was I saying? The smaller pair of scissors that I've got there in my toolbox there is a set I use for sticky stuff. So if you've used adhesive sheet, or you want to cut down dimensionals or something like that, I don't use my snips for that, so they don't get all gungy. However, top tip is to use some WD-40. I don't know whether you can get that in other countries. It's like I think it's actually like some kind of lubricant spray, I think. So I don't know whether it's available elsewhere. Right, so I'm not particularly, just in case you're watching what I'm doing here, well, hopefully you're watching what I'm doing, but you're watching closely. I'm not being particularly careful around here, and so I don't worry about trying to get it really precise. Sometimes I'm a bit closer to the line and sometimes I'm a bit further away and stuff, so don't worry about trying to be too accurate. A bit like with the inking, we you know, the style of card lends itself to being a bit there's a great American word, what's that word for wonky? Cattywampus, is it? It's a great word. Yeah, so if you put WD-40 on the blades of your scissors, or the equivalent product, it actually protects them a little bit, and they don't get as sticky as quickly. and when they do get sticky, it gets them off. And I know there's stuff called glue gun, I think, that is available. I think that's something that the Americans reference sometimes. But anyway, that kind of product. So just cutting out this sentiment as well. And again, you know, not being super accurate and sort of fussy about it. Just want to get round it. You could have just not bothered fussy cutting this, but I don't know, with these scripty fonts I find it a little challenging to find something that fits around them nicely, whether you're cutting your own banners or whatever. I don't know, I find it a little bit challenging to find something that looks good with something like this, you know, squared off kind of thing. Okay, so I'm going to cut out the rest of those and I'll be back. Okay, so those are all fussy cut out. I just want to cut down this little banner. So you can do this by hand. Just cut up in the centre and then in from the corners, and you'll get a banner in like that. And we want that. So let's just take off about that much and do the same to the other end. Doesn't have to be even in terms of, you know, how big that V is, if you know what I mean. Okay, so we'll pop that to one side, and then we can, you know, you can give things a kind of a rough up, and with a bone folder you can kind of put creases in it and stuff, just to sort of make it fit in with the rest of the project kind of thing. So for this one, we'll just get this thanks stuck down with a little bit of adhesive, and we'll just pop that onto there. Okay, so that's ready to go. Okay, like so. Right, let's have a look at how we're going to put this together then, and whether we want all of these leaves or not, basically. So I what did end up with 3 solid and 2 smaller ones. Okay, I keep wanting to pick up these bits, but they're stuck down. Okay, right, so the middle, great, super. Okay, so let's just pop a bit of adhesive on the middle of that and just secure that. I'm going to use black dimensionals just to help disguise this a little bit, and we'll bring them in from the edges, which means they're less visible, but we've got plenty of support around that circle, and we'll pop that. It's really, I find when everything's all wonky, it's really hard to then get something straight, if you know what I mean. You don't really have a line to guide you. And then, yeah, so what do we want? Do we want the solid ones? Is that, I think we might want the solid ones. What do you guys think? You can't talk to me, of course, but I'll talk at you anyway. And we might need to just lift this a little bit, and that's alright, because it will distress it a little bit more if we have to pull it and tease it and stuff. Maybe we do want one of these as well. Just to give it some movement and stuff. And of course I do like odd numbers, as you know. Ooh. Now I don't know whether that's straight or not, really. Sometimes looking down the camera helps. Let's have a look. Okay. So it's just because everything else is wonky in the background, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. I might leave it like that. You're probably all screaming, no, don't do that. But no, I think that looks okay actually. That's okay. Right, okay, now I've got to remember where all that stuff goes. Right, so I might just use some seal and just tuck these things in. Just popping a bit at the bottom again, just sort of keeping it kind of a little bit, you know, sort of loose, so it comes up and gives it some movement and dimension with everything else that's going on. Probably lift that a little bit as well. Tuck that right in. So I keep wanting to straighten it. Have a look. Okay. Okay. Don't know how you guys feel about that. It looks strange to me because it is strange. And then I thought just these little gold pearls just added a bit of bling without necessarily being too kind of fancy. Do you know what I mean? Because we want that sort of oldie worldy kind of look to it. So I figured they'd do the job. The other thing that might have been nice are those lovely neutral sequins. Where are those? Yeah, these are carrying over. These are staying, which I'm super pleased about. So you've got these different ones as well, so they could have worked as well, I think. But yeah, so that's it really. Loads of distressing and stuff like that. So I don't know what you think. It's just difficult to, yeah, say it's difficult for me to, I don't know, like it, if you know what I mean. Okay, but you know, if it's your kind of thing, you can let me know whether you think I had a good stab at that or not. Doing the different layers, so you see how that's all just coming away, and it's all just, it's like you know, having to make a map at school or whatever. That's what this reminds me of. Okay, and we've got loads of like dimension on this one to make it look really, really sort of worn. I suppose if you wanted to, you could tack that down a little bit more if you didn't want it quite so rugged, shall we say. Okay, so there we go, my vintage and shabby chic card there. As I say, this is part of a video hop. Please do check the description for all the other videos that are participating today. There'll also be a supply list down there as well, so if you wanted to just look back at what was used, you can. Oh, I know why it looks a bit weird. I didn't put my splatters on. There's a splatter stamp. Oh, there's something not quite right. Oh well, never mind. Thanks ever so much for joining me today. Hope you're staying safe. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.